Welcome to our exploration of trade policy trends in the aftermath of COVID-19. The pandemic has left a significant mark on global trade, prompting countries to rethink their strategies and priorities. In this video, we'll break down the major shifts, highlight key examples, and discuss what these changes mean for businesses and consumers worldwide. We'll start by understanding what trade policy is and why it's so crucial in today's interconnected world. From tariffs to trade agreements, these policies shape the flow of goods and services across borders. Let's dive in and see how the landscape is evolving. COVID-19 first struck, global supply chains were disrupted almost overnight. Factories closed, shipping routes stalled, and many countries imposed export restrictions on essential goods like medical supplies. This immediate shock revealed vulnerabilities in the way nations traded and relied on each other. Governments quickly realized that their economies were more interconnected and fragile than previously thought. As a result, the initial response was to focus inward, prioritizing domestic needs and security over international cooperation. This set the stage for a wave of policy changes that would soon follow. One of the most noticeable trends post-pandemic has been the rise of protectionism. Countries began to implement higher tariffs and stricter import controls to shield their domestic industries from global shocks. This shift was especially evident in sectors like healthcare, technology, and agriculture. The goal was to reduce dependency on foreign suppliers and ensure national security. While this approach helped some industries recover, it also led to higher costs and less variety for consumers. The debate over protectionism versus free trade has become more intense than ever. Another significant trend is the movement toward reshoring and nearshoring. Companies and governments are encouraging the return of manufacturing and supply chains closer to home. This strategy aims to minimize future disruptions and create local jobs. For example, several US and European firms have started relocating production from Asia back to their own regions or neighboring countries. While this can boost local economies, it often comes with higher production costs. Still, the desire for greater control and resilience is driving this shift. To avoid future shocks, many businesses are diversifying their supply chains. Instead of relying on a single country or region, companies are sourcing materials and components from multiple locations. This approach spreads risk and increases flexibility. For instance, electronics manufacturers are now working with suppliers in Southeast Asia, Latin America, and Eastern Europe, rather than depending solely on China. Diversification helps ensure that if one region faces a crisis, operations can continue elsewhere. Pandemic accelerated the shift toward digital trade. With physical movement restricted, businesses turned to e-commerce, digital services, and online platforms to keep trade flowing. Governments responded by updating regulations to support cross-border data flows and digital transactions. This trend is likely to continue, with digital trade becoming a core part of international commerce. The rise of fintech, online marketplaces, and remote work tools are all part of this digital transformation. In response to global uncertainty, many countries have turned to regional trade agreements. These deals make it easier for neighboring nations to trade with each other, reducing barriers and fostering cooperation. Examples include the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, RCEP, in Asia and the African Continental Free Trade Area, AfCFTA. Such agreements help countries build stronger economic ties and create more stable trading environments, even when global trade is volatile. Governments are now paying closer attention to strategic industries, sectors that are vital for national security and economic stability. These include healthcare, technology, energy, and food production. Policies are being designed to support and protect these industries, ensuring they can withstand future crises. This focus often involves subsidies, tax breaks, and investment in research and development. The aim is to build self-sufficiency and resilience in critical areas. Sustainability has become a central theme in trade policy. Countries are integrating environmental standards into their trade agreements and encouraging green technologies. This includes promoting renewable energy, reducing carbon emissions, and ensuring responsible sourcing of materials. Businesses that adopt sustainable practices are often rewarded with easier access to international markets. The push for sustainability is reshaping how goods are produced, transported, and consumed worldwide. The link between trade and public health has never been clearer. During the pandemic, access to medical supplies and vaccines depended on open trade routes and international cooperation. Now countries are working to ensure that future health emergencies don't disrupt critical imports. This includes stockpiling essential goods, diversifying suppliers, and building partnerships for rapid response. Trade policy is being shaped with public health in mind, balancing openness with preparedness. World Trade Organization, WTO, has faced challenges in adapting to the new trade environment. While it remains a key player in setting global rules, its ability to resolve disputes and foster cooperation has been tested. Some countries are pushing for reforms to make the WTO more responsive to current realities, such as digital trade and supply chain resilience. The organization's future role will depend on its capacity to evolve and address emerging issues. Trade nationalism has gained momentum, with countries prioritizing their own interests over global cooperation. This trend is evident in the push for domestic production, stricter import controls, and skepticism toward multilateral agreements. While this approach can protect local industries, it may also lead to trade tensions and reduced economic growth. The challenge is finding a balance between national priorities and the benefits of open markets. Trade agreements are evolving to address new challenges. Modern deals now include provisions on digital trade, environmental protection, and labor standards. These updates reflect the changing priorities of governments and businesses. For example, recent agreements between the EU and other regions include commitments to reduce carbon emissions and protect workers' rights. Such provisions are becoming standard, shaping the future of international trade. Keep goods moving during the pandemic, many countries introduced trade facilitation measures. These include streamlined customs procedures, digital documentation, and faster border checks. Such measures reduce delays and costs, making it easier for businesses to operate internationally. As these practices prove effective, they are likely to become permanent features of trade policy, supporting smoother and more efficient global commerce. Post-COVID-19 era has seen a rise in trade disputes as countries implement new barriers and policies. These disputes often center on tariffs, subsidies, and market access. While some disagreements are resolved through negotiation, others escalate to formal complaints at the WTO. The increase in disputes highlights the need for effective conflict resolution mechanisms and international cooperation. Technology is playing a bigger role in shaping trade policy. From blockchain for supply chain transparency to artificial intelligence for customs processing, digital tools are making trade faster and more secure. Governments are investing in digital infrastructure and encouraging innovation to stay competitive. As technology evolves, it will continue to transform how goods and services move across borders. Geopolitical tensions are increasingly influencing trade policy. Rivalries between major economies such as the US and China have led to tariffs, sanctions, and shifting alliances. These tensions create uncertainty for businesses and can disrupt global supply chains. Policymakers must navigate complex relationships while protecting national interests and maintaining economic stability. Small and medium-sized enterprises (SMEs) have faced unique challenges during the pandemic. Trade policies are being adapted to support these businesses, with measures like simplified export procedures, access to finance, and digital training. Helping SMEs participate in global trade is seen as essential for economic recovery and inclusive growth. Consumer preferences are also shaping trade policy. There's growing demand for locally produced, sustainable, and ethically sourced products. Governments are responding by setting standards and labeling requirements that reflect these values. As consumers become more conscious of their choices, businesses must adapt to meet new expectations in both domestic and international markets. Labor mobility has been affected by travel restrictions and health concerns. Trade policies are now considering the movement of workers as part of economic recovery. Some countries are creating special visa programs for essential workers, while others are investing in remote work infrastructure. The future of trade will depend in part on how labor mobility is managed in a post-pandemic world. Countries are tightening investment screening to protect strategic assets from foreign takeovers. This is especially true in sectors like technology, healthcare, and infrastructure. New rules require greater transparency and government approval for foreign investments. The aim is to safeguard national interests while still attracting beneficial capital. Trade policy is increasingly linked to development goals, such as poverty reduction, education, and gender equality. International organizations and governments are using trade agreements to promote inclusive growth and sustainable development. This includes special provisions for developing countries and support for capacity building. Innovations in trade finance are making it easier for businesses to access capital and manage risk. Digital platforms, blockchain, and new financial products are streamlining transactions and reducing costs. These tools are especially valuable for SMEs and businesses in developing countries, helping them participate more fully in global trade. Climate change is a growing concern in trade policy. Countries are introducing carbon border taxes and other measures to ensure that imports meet environmental standards. These policies encourage greener production methods and help combat global warming. Businesses must adapt to new requirements or risk losing access to key markets. Food security has become a priority in trade policy. The pandemic exposed vulnerabilities in global food supply chains, prompting countries to secure reliable sources of essential goods. Policies now focus on supporting domestic agriculture, diversifying suppliers, and building strategic reserves. Ensuring food security is seen as vital for national stability. Digital services are becoming a major component of trade. From cloud computing to online education, these services cross borders with ease. Trade agreements are being updated to address issues like data privacy, intellectual property, and cross-border payments. The growth of digital services is reshaping the global economy. Transparency in supply chains is now a top priority. Consumers and regulators want to know where products come from and how they are made. Technologies like blockchain are being used to track goods from origin to destination. Greater transparency helps build trust and ensures compliance with standards. Social issues such as labor rights, human rights, and gender equality are increasingly part of trade policy. Agreements now include clauses to protect workers and promote fair treatment. Businesses that fail to meet these standards may face penalties or lose market access. Social responsibility is becoming a key factor in international trade. Crisis preparedness is now a central concern in trade policy. Countries are developing plans to ensure the flow of essential goods during emergencies. This includes building strategic reserves, diversifying suppliers, and creating rapid response mechanisms. The goal is to make trade more resilient in the face of future shocks. Summary: the post-COVID-19 world has brought significant changes to trade policy. From protectionism and digital trade to sustainability and crisis preparedness, countries are adapting to new realities. The future of trade will depend on how well policymakers balance national interests with global cooperation. Businesses and consumers alike must stay informed and flexible as the landscape continues to evolve. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the latest trends in trade policy.